If your team is looking for a quarterback, this isn't the best draft, but keep in mind Garrett Nussmeier. Here's his full scouting report. We'll start off with just a tumultuous season that he and LSU had, where we saw Brian Kelly get fired midseason, even Garrett Nussmeier being benched. And that's after a 2024 season where we thought that he could have went #1 overall in that draft class. Now we fast forward to 2026 and we're wondering if he's even going to go in the second round, let alone in the first. But keep in mind, I am still a fan. Now his stats, again, not great when you look at everything that was put together. He only had 13 starts because he was dealing with an injury, 1,927 yards, 12 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions with a completion percentage of 67.4% and a QBR of 133.8. That is not very efficient, and it's not very sexy in comparison to a lot of these other quarterbacks. But over the career, he has a lot of starts, over 40 starts with it, which is significant because you want your quarterbacks to have a lot of experience, see a lot of reps, because when they get in the NFL, that's going to save a lot of the growing pains and development. He has that. I consider him one of the most pro-ready passers, and with this processing speed and arm talent, I think he's very much an NFL quarterback. And knowing the caveat, especially understanding that he lost his head coach, and I'm not saying that Brian Kelly didn't deserve to be fired, but what I am saying, it creates a very unstable environment for a young quarterback. And then you double that along with an abdomen injury, you could see where you have an up and down season. Moreover, Garrett Nussmeier has never had an elite group of pass catchers, his best one being Mason Taylor in 2024. He's waited behind Jaden Daniels for his turn, and now that he's gotten it, we've had a lot of up and down things, but I really want to focus on the positives. He's an elite processor, as I mentioned, and his arm talent, particularly when you looked at him in the Senior Bowl, he's able to change his arm slot, navigate the pocket, make every throw you want to see across the field. He has poise, meaning that this guy doesn't really get rattled too often, and it literally takes a torn abdomen to really throw him off his game. And that includes having Nick Anderson and Aaron Anderson, both undersized slot type wide receivers, as your top target. Now for the weaknesses, a lot of physical limitations, suboptimal size, low mobility. If you look at his total career rushing yards, it's abysmal. I know that they do count sacks towards your rushing total, but even with that caveat in mind, it's still not very good. And then he plays a lot of hero ball. When you're in an environment, when you're asked to do everything and be the entire offense, sometimes it means that you want to force throws or make things outside of structure that aren't necessarily conducive to an efficient offense. That's something that's in his game. I think if you take someone like Garrett Nussmeier and then put him in an environment with a lot of weapons, or you put him in an environment behind a decent offensive line, and I know you're asking a lot for a young quarterback, I do think that there's something special there. My ceiling comp for him is actually Brock Purdy. The way that he moved, particularly at the Senior Bowl, reminded me a lot of what we saw with playoff Brock Purdy, where you saw hero ball, but you actually saw someone be a hero, not just pretending to be. Particularly all that movement skills that we see in the pocket, not necessarily as a scrambler, but as a pure pocket passer. My floor comp, Taylor Heineke. That's someone who is a serviceable backup who has an NFL arm but could be a turnover machine. My biggest worry overall with Garrett Nussmeier is the size. He's only 6'1", 205. And when you have an injury already, he hasn't had a career that's been injury filled. That's still a concern when you move to the NFL, when you're not just only 6'1". There's like Baker Mayfield. There's plenty of quarterbacks that are 6'1". But when you have that small frame, that is a concern for injuries long term. Overall, I actually think Garrett Nussmeier might be my QB2 in this class because of all the information that we got. Not unlike what I said with Ty Simpson in a previous video. You got to consider all the variables, and I love the arm talent. I love the natural ability to lead an offense. I love the poise, and I think he's someone, especially when you have so many QB needy teams, that you need to be paying attention to.